Hello, sir.
Good day.
What are your thoughts on traveling?
Yeah, I think I'm done for a while.
Why is that?
Well, the most recent trips, the shutdown of the airport we were due to fly into because of a mid-air collision
As you're on your
as
way
we
there.
were on our way there. And then while there, the hotel caught fire and we got stuck briefly, very briefly, but still stuck in the elevator. And then we encountered a massive snowstorm on the way back
Hmm.
that almost prevented us from getting back. So, I mean, glass half empty, glass half full. The glass half full part is we made it back in the end with no major issues. The glass half empty is I think the universe is trying to tell me something.
Yeah, the first half of my trip, because I went first, was lovely. I had a lovely hotel. My flight was easy, went right through security, no problem, nothing. Coming back though, so we had literally 15 minutes to get off our flight through customs and immigration to get to our other gate. Somehow, because I was going first, trying to run ahead, I got sent through a second immigration window, which led me to being exited out of the airport into, well, not out of the airport, but out of the secured area into all the baggage claim and had to go through a second customs and then had to go back in through security, at which point they decided I needed to get all of my suitcase, everything in my suitcase checked. Maya got on the plane.
Yeah, she was going home with or without us.
Yeah, but I made it. I barely made it, but I made it.
And then we had an hour and 15-minute delay on that flight.
Was it actually?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We didn't take off for another hour and 15 minutes from the time we sat down to the time we're in the air.
Oh, that's good then. I was just not feeling well, so I just pretty much went to sleep. But I didn't actually know that. Thank
Yeah.
goodness, because I probably would not have made the flight then if there wasn't that delay.
No, no, we were on the plane and then it was delayed for an hour and 15 minutes. There was no need for us to
Oh,
rush.
oh, why was it delayed? I had no clue of this, but
De-icing and all the other traffic, all the stuff they could have changed it to. But anyways, I mean, we made it
I just
in
wasn't
the end.
feeling it.
But I think, yeah, I think I'm either going to travel by rail or not travel anymore.
Yeah. Well, there we go.
Well, so it's going to limit my options, but what do you do?
And it's bonkers. I mean, we could have a whole podcast just on some of the things that we're hearing and seeing about
Mhm.
going on. But anyways, that's a different time. I actually have a guest, thank goodness. I'm not going to talk a lot today, I don't think. You're going to have to take the wheel on this one.
All right.
I'm going to curl up here with a blanket because I'm just really not feeling good. But good enough to talk with Leslie. I'm actually pretty excited to chat with her. She's an award-winning ADHD student and parenting coach. She's the founder of the Order Out of Chaos, a 20 plus years company whose mission is to champion parents and professionals raising neurodivergent students. She's an award-winning author of 3 books, creator of the award-winning Academic Planner, a tool for time management, and an internationally acclaimed speaker. Leslie's been named as one of the top time management experts in the world by global gurus 8 years in a row. And until recently, she wrote the weekly Dear ADHD Family Coach column for the Attitude magazine. So I'm very excited to have her. I hope you all enjoy this podcast. And I think we're going to be talking about executive functions, which are skills that all of our kids need. Doesn't matter if they have a diagnosis of ADHD or not. So enjoy. Well, Leslie, thank you so much for joining us today. We're excited to have you here.
I'm so happy to be here. Let's get into it.
Awesome. Well, why don't we start by having you introduce yourself to everyone who's listening today?
Sure. So I like to say what I am certified in is as an ADHD student and parenting coach. So I always say I wear 3 hats. I wear a professional hat, the parenting hat, and the student hat. But what I really do is I own a company called Order Out of Chaos, and hold on to your hats. We've been around for 21 years. When I say that, people are like, 21 years? I'm like, Picture 2004, there was no internet, there were no podcasts, there were nothing. And what's amazing about it is our mission has pretty much stayed the same. Our mission is to make sure that we are championing and helping parents and professionals who are raising neurodivergent students. And we do that all virtually. So we are a global community. We are a very robust community. And what people come to us for are products, programs, workshops, webinars, and coaching, both student and parent. And our mission is always to make sure that we're helping those help students be successful in learning and in life. And I love that mission. Like, we are very heart-centered, but highly profitable. I think that's, I think you're laughing, but it's true. 21 years, you better be. So that's kind of what we do, what we stand for. And I would say just everything is for the taking on our site. 21 years of a lot of information, lots of information and programs.
Amazing. And you've got a lot of background,
Yes,
experience, expertise.
I talked about our company, but I have written, I'm the Dear ADHD Family Coach columnist for Attitude Magazine. I've written books. I speak all over. I created a line of academic planner products 12 years ago and actually sold that part of my company this year. So very entrenched on helping students who maybe learn and think differently how to achieve success in life. It's always been our mission.
So how did you get started on that path? Like, it's amazing that it's been over 21 years, but what made you go down that way?
I know, 21 years, I'm old. Some people like to call me a pioneer. I think I like that better than old. Yeah. If you go on the site, it actually says it all started with my son. And I keep going back to the fact that if you think about 2004, there wasn't really the internet wasn't even a thing, if you know what I mean. There was no information. There was nobody doing what I do. There was no podcast, conferences, all of those things. And I really had to figure out on my own how to untangle his world, both at home and at school. And he was 4 at the time or 5 at the time. He's 26 now. So I'm pretty protective of his privacy, which is parenting 101. I never divulge anything. I don't have permission to do so. I think that's really important in this day and age. But here's a true story, and I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. I was working like a more typical job. I was actually, I think, head of a not-for-profit, and I worked really hard in my own home and at school to help him. And a friend of mine who's a therapist saw what I did. She came over and she said, "Oh my goodness, do I have a patient for you? She has 4 boys under the age of 10, all with ADHD. Would you go help her?" And I said, "If she calls, yeah, I'll go do it out of the goodness of my heart." Remember, I didn't do this for a living. And I went, she called, I went. And within 2 weeks, I had 4 phone calls from her friend. We'll call her Lisa, who said, Lisa's friends, "I saw what you did at Lisa's house." And what I did back then was pretty revolutionary. Wouldn't maybe be considered that now, but I was taking closet doors off because the ADHD brain, if they don't see it, it doesn't exist. I was removing dressers and putting clear bins because, again, if something is multiple steps, again, that's going to be too difficult. So I turned to my husband and went, "But I don't do this for a living." Now, understand my husband is ADHD, and I am allowed to tell you that. And typical ADHD response, he goes, "Well, you do now." And that was like it. And I went, and I'm such a Virgo. I'm such a Virgo. Like, I's dotted, T's crossed. And I was like, "But I don't have a name. I don't have a," it's like, order out of chaos. Like, he just like this, right? I was so stuck in everything being linear. And he was my out-of-the-box thinker. And within 2 months, I quit my job. And here we are. So here we are 21 years later. We are a global community of over 100,000 members, and it's free to join. And we are virtual. And as you heard my trajectory, it's amazing. And what I tell people is so much has changed. Touch of a button, knowledge, but so much hasn't. That still need for community, connection, conversation, education hasn't changed. It's still, we still see it in our parents and even in our professionals, like, help me to know. What do I need to know? How do I do it? And so that's a real aha moment if you look back at 21 years of work to say that really hasn't changed. So
One of the key areas that are a little bit tricky, we know for our neurodivergent students, is those executive functioning skills. And I
Yes.
would say it's not even limited to ADHD and autism and dyslexia, are neurodivergent. We're seeing it even just the rewiring of brains because of screens. They're not using their executive functions. But anyway, I mean, that's a different conversation. But looking at some of those executive functioning skills, I think that that would be an important topic to chat about because parents might get frustrated and call their kids lazy or you did
Oh, I
it
love
five
that.
minutes ago and you're
Yes.
not doing it now. So I wonder if it would be
Yes.
helpful to jump into that a bit.
I love that you use the word lazy because in our coaching programs, we say this to students and parents. You can say any four-letter word you want. Like we so don't care because I have a little bit of a spicy mouth. The only four-letter word you're not allowed to use is lazy because we do not believe in lazy. To me, that is a perception that needs to go away. So here's what I'm going to do what I do like in 2 hours in about 2 minutes. So hold on to your hats, people. I'm a New Yorker and I talk fast, but I'm going to try to give you like the readers, not the reader, like user-friendly way of understanding it. What I find in my work is that people tend to think they use executive functioning and ADHD interchangeable. And that's where it actually, I like to always not correct, but make a distinction that ADHD is really an executive functioning disorder. And we don't look at it that way. We think of it as my child is hyperactive or my child has trouble focusing. If we really drill it down, those with ADHD don't have trouble focusing. They just have trouble sometimes focusing on the right things at the right time, with the right energy, with the right cadence. So it's not a focusing disorder. It's not a hyperactivity disorder. It is a self-regulation disorder, is what ADHD is, or lagging executive functioning skills. So that's number one. Another thing is that if you are diagnosed with ADHD, you automatically have executive dysfunction. They are BFFs. They are like connected at the hip. However, the reverse is not true. And that's a really interesting distinction. I hear that a lot with parents thinking, my child must have ADHD. And I'm like, not necessarily. They might just have some executive functioning challenges. All of us are born with lagging executive functions because our executive functions don't fully form until we're in our, and this is late 20s, early 30s. That's researchers battling it out, and I stay away from that. I'll just, you know what I mean? I don't go there. I don't go there because I'm not the one doing the research. So add that to your like pot and stir it. So what does executive functioning mean? It means, this is my definition. I don't like to call it functions. I like to call it executive control. Particularly, you have to remember who we speak to all day, students. So I want to give them hope. I don't want it to sound clinical. I want it to sound that they have agency. So what does it look like? What it looks like is you might be challenged with organization, your stuff, your space, your time management, knowing where you sit in time, your focusing, right? How much can you focus? Effort level. Effort is big and we don't like kind of talk about it enough. And effort is where I feel that perception of lazy lives. Effort is being able to initiate and sustain. And the other ones are working memory. And working memory is not short-term memory. It's not what I had for breakfast. And it's not long-term memory that I maybe went to Disney with grandma for her 80th. It's a two-lane highway. It's information coming in that has to stick, and then information that has to be pulled out when we need it. Best way I describe it is your student sitting in math class at 8 o'clock in the morning. And at that moment and in that time, they're like, I got it. I got it. I'm so good, right? I got it. And then we're going to fast forward 11 hours later and they open up their math homework and they go, I have no, you know what idea what the heck this is. It's because working memory didn't happen. It didn't super glue it, or we call it the boomerang brain. In and out it went. Then there's impulsivity, which I hate. I hate that word because, again, negative, negative, negative. I like self-leadership instead. Where am I? What am I doing? It's almost a little metacognition-y, but it's more self-leadership. Am I in control of my body, my brain, my movements, my memory? That's my definition. That's a Leslieism. And the last one is mood regulation. And I bring that one last because I think that's one most people don't realize is an executive function. It's being frustrated. It's being angry. It's being quiet. It's just not, our mood is not regulated. It's the parent going, I don't get it. she was absolutely fine. And like 30 seconds later, and that's mood regulation. So those are your basic executive functions. I mean, and then obviously there's things that are offshoots of them, like procrastination or overwhelm. But those are the ones I gave you are the real executive functions. And what we like to tell kids, and we describe it, is it's not always what people see from you from the outside. And I really want your parents listening to this one. So everybody, effort level up, stand up if you have to. This is important. It's what your child is feeling on the inside. When we need to do what it is we want and need, and I think those two are very important, want and need, we have to quiet the noises, the internal noises. We have to quiet our imagination, our memories, our sensations, our thoughts, our criticisms. All of that also has to go like this so we can be fully present to do what I call purposeful actions. So right now in this moment, I'm chatting with you. You have no idea what's going on. My house could be hell on fire right now, right? I could be dreading a bad talk, or I just had something horrible happen before I got on here, but I have to suppress all of that so that I can do what this is, which is purposeful actions. And when I describe it that way to kids, they understand that. I don't want to say much better, but they really kind of get that more than what others are seeing from the outside. It gives them more control. It gives them more agency. How many minutes was that?
Yeah, no,
That's good.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, that agency piece, because I do find, I've been talking more and more about ADHD as a social construct based on everybody else's expectations versus, and it's just a mismatch, right, of environments at the end of the day. Sorry, what were you going to say?
I wasn't saying anything.
I don't mean to keep talking.
It's okay.
It's taking a lot out of me, but
You're good.
Okay.
You're good.
So when you're talking to parents, or I guess the question I have is for someone that's obviously not as well versed.
Yes.
When are parents seeking you out? Like what is leading up to you creating this kind of support community that they're becoming a part of, I guess? When should they be reaching out, or what do the parents need to look out for where they might need more help, I guess?
Or the challenges that they are running into.
So that's a hard one. That is a hard one to answer because everybody comes. So what I like about, I'm going to be honest, what I like about what we built is that I wanted people to be able to come and take what it is they needed from our company. We did not want to put up a wall, like a firewall, and say, we can talk a little business too. I didn't want there to be this paywall of membership. And that the problem that I have with that is that then you have no choice of only taking whatever it is they're giving, and maybe some of that is not what you need. So we set up Order Out of Chaos in a way where, yes, there is plenty of stuff that you can get that is completely free, right? There's podcasts that I've been on. There's over 300 ADHD columns. There's videos. I mean, I don't need to go to the website and see that. But if we do our bread and butter, you might say, other than the coaching that we do a tremendous amount of coaching, is we also offer webinars or master classes once every 6 weeks. We do a live, it is always me, and it is always live for our community, but you pay for that. It's minimal, but what we love about it is that if you want to be part of that, if that topic resonates with you, then you're in. So if you want study skills in September, you're coming. If you want executive functioning in October, if you want time management in February, because it's time management month, then I'm there. But if you don't want it, then you skip that month, and maybe you're going to go into our parent education library and find the videos you might want to purchase on overwhelm or procrastination. When we have people who come to us whose kids are 8 years old, we have people whose kids are 20 years old, and everything in between. So what we find, though, the theme is that their children or students are challenged with some type of executive functioning, whether it's, and it has changed over the years. So at the beginning, it was really about time and organizing, things that were very, I like to say, cut and dry. As time has gone on, we see it's way more about mood regulation, about overwhelm, And a lot of that came out of the pandemic. We saw a major shift in what we were discussing in our groups, in our coaching, because we offer regular parent coaching one-on-one, we do groups, we do all that. What in our Facebook group, what were the shifts? And I think that's also why I like how we do things, because we really tend to be current. So when the pandemic hit, everything changed to how can we help support our parents who are helping their kids with online learning and parenting through a pandemic. If you were part of a program, we would not have been able to do that. Right? We are always able to, and this is really important, if we are not doing it, we bring people in who can. I am not a doctor, and I am very clear about where I begin and end. I wouldn't be in business for 21 years. So if people we want someone who really can talk about anxiety, and I can only bring it to this level because I'm not a doctor, and I don't want that on my head, I will bring in an expert. I want someone who can talk about screen time in a way that a doctor can only do. You got that. I'm bringing that person in. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I would say overall, how we know is we ask. And when I say that to other people that run programs, and they're like, "What do you mean you ask?" And I'm like, we are always asking our community, what is it you want? Right? You're not doing this for you. You have your pulse on what your listeners want to know about. You're not doing this podcast for you. You're doing it for those out there who want to know about executive functioning or motivation. I listened to your podcast, the doctor you had on. Oh my God, I'm sorry, I don't remember his name. I thought he was fabulous, by the way. The Yale thing really resonated with me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But my point is, I'm always asking, when I write my books, the first thing is, what do you want to know? Am I on the right track? Are these the chapters that are the right ones for you? No, we want more studying. We want more time. We want we don't need that. So that's kind of how we do it and how we know. And at the end of every webinar, we're always asking, here are a couple of topics, not for the next one, because that one's already, planned. But do you want more executive functioning? Do you want more studying? Do you want procrastination? And trust me, people have thoughts.
Well, zooming this in, just knowing it's the executive functions in general that we need to focus on, maybe zooming in a little bit more on that mood regulation. What would you say in terms of, for the listeners who are here who would, how to best support their children with that?
So that's a big one. So there's a lot, because you have to know what it is they're struggling with. Yeah. So here's the one thing I will always say. If your child is struggling with their executive functions and you're seeing a lot of leakage at home, I always advise you to go back to the school. If your child goes to a more typical, more like brick and mortar school, not really going to maybe do that if they're in a homeschooling situation or a co-op, because you have a lot more agency there, right? If you're teaching together or you're doing by yourself, but you really need to figure out where the breakdown is. Now, is your child already diagnosed, not diagnosed? There's a lot of that. But if your child is diagnosed and does have an executive functioning, challenging, diagnosis, then we have to go back to the school in some ways, because where does your child spend all of their time? Where might things be falling through the cracks for your child there that are them being brought home? I have parents who say to us all the time, my kid walks in the door and they're just angry, or they're explosive, or they can't utter a word for 2 hours. And I always reminded of something that my pediatrician said to me when my first was born, because my daughter was like happiest little baby, but every night from 6 to 8, she would just cry and cry and cry. Did you ever, I don't know if you have children, but
we do.
Yeah.
It would just cry and it would make me like, what is wrong? And the pediatrician said to me, I want you to think of it this way. She's shedding the day. And I was like, I love that. She's shedding the day. Think about all that happened in that day to get to that moment. This is for a baby, mind you. All that stimulus, people in their face, the colors, the sounds, the lights, the stuff, all of it. And they're finally, and that's the only way they know how to shed it. And when I went through all my training, obviously no one taught me that, but I connected the dot and I went, That's kind of what happens when your child walks in the door. Like I say this to parents, suck in your stomach. Now hold that for 8 hours. That's your child. So what is going on at school? What are the supports? Do you have supports in place? Do you have scaffolding in place? Are they having a hard time? What is happening so that we can then remedy it there first and then take it where it needs to go, whether it's home or somewhere else. I mean, I can say they all, depending on their age, they might need additional support. They might need someone, they might need a therapist. They might need a coach. We know things land differently when others talk about it. My philosophy, if you really want to know it, is I believe in a third, and a third with kids with executive functioning challenges. This is what I mean. I believe in systems and structures and, all of that, like things at home that run look, we know that the ADHD brain or the executive functioning brain thrives on consistency, on structure, and on organization. What they don't like is being caught off guard. That is a big one, friends. You have to remember that. So even though it might not seem it, they like to know what is coming next. They like to know what their parameters are, right? So that's my third, the systems and structures. My other third is, if your child and family agrees, is medication. Okay. I believe in it if it works for you. I really do. That's it. Don't come after me. I do. And my other third is like that mind-body connection. I believe in food as medicine. Oh my God, I have kids who tell me like food solves all their problems. I get that. I believe in sleep, nutrition, exercise, all of that to help set the brain. But if I was going to say one thing that I think parents need to know is I believe it is a parent's job to set parameters, and it's your child's job to negotiate them. And we see this in the ADHD executive functioning world, that the less choice and control our children have, the less motivated they are, and the more anxious they are. That is research proven. So the more we're holding on, the more we're going, you have to, I need you to, you should be. Believe it or not, the more anxious our children are and the less motivated they are. The more we collaborate, the more we set parameters. So it's not permissive parenting. It's not like, hey, knock yourself out, do whatever you want. It's setting the parameters, but your child having agency to negotiate them. We actually see children more motivated, more buy-in, and less anxious. And that is research proven.
Very cool.
Good question.
I'm chatting away here.
No, that was great. That covered a lot of ground. I think just the framing of it is probably the most important part for me.
And maybe bringing that down, because it's very clear in my head and I know exactly how we would do that as a parent, but maybe for parents who don't know how to negotiate that, could you give us a specific example that, a parent might run into a boundary they've set? I know screens could be a big one, right? Like I've set this parameter around screens and now kids are wanting to, negotiate that. How would a parent handle that situation?
There's many different, again, I also want to make sure, like, I don't know your demographics. So there might be how you're going to speak to an 8-year-old is different than how you're going to treat an 18-year-old. It just is. I believe that, as your child gets older, the parameters should get wider because, an 8-year-old, you might, your parameters are going to be a little bit tighter, so to speak. So I'm just going to use whatever example, and hopefully, I am sure the people that your community are super smart and will figure out, okay, that's not going to work for my 8-year-old, right? So I just want to put it, let's say, out there. So let's say in your home, you have figured out that your children will use screens, that your child gets an hour or 2 hours a day. And that's something, again, that's personal. And I get asked that question all the time. How long do you think? And I go, I can't answer that. You know your child, you know your household, that is a family decision. But interestingly, I ask parents, if you have older children, have you sat down with your child? Now, again, maybe not for an 8-year-old. Have you asked your child what they think is an appropriate amount? And I get really? I'm like, yeah, you'd be shocked at what you'll get back. I'm like, never thought, I'm pretending I'm two people right now. I never thought to ask that question. I'm like, So start there. Start there. That doesn't mean that's your parameter, but we're gathering intel, right? What do they think? Because believe it or not, it could very well be that you just never asked, that you're doing this without that collaboration piece. That doesn't mean, again, the permissiveness. So, okay, let's say, for example, or let's say you don't do that, or you did it. So let's say you have, and we just say 2 hours, 2 hours. And so again, what you might say is the parameter is 2 hours. The negotiation is when I'm giving you, or it could even be that you can have, it could even be more like you can have your screen time after you've done X, Y, and Z, which I do not believe in. Tell you why in a minute. So what does that look like for you? You get to decide. So again, and if as many things that you could do that you can give your child choice and control, you will get more buy-in. It just is that way. Again, it has to depend on who they are and obviously what's going on. But even with that screen time, it could be like, okay, we're going to have screen time between 7 and 10, but you only get an hour. What hour would you like? Now, what happens if they don't comply? I'm a big believer in that kids like to pull us into their vortex, right? That conversation vortex of you said this, I don't want to, and now you're just now having this conversation that you should not be having. I'm a big believer in that your kids don't wake up in the morning, and I hope it's okay for me to say this, kids don't wake up going, how can I piss off my parents today? Not all kids. There are some kids that do. We know that, but most kids don't. So I always feel that a kid has good intentions until they don't. So even if I am being very neutral and sticking to a natural consequence, I am never degrading them. And I am never yelling at them. Yelling does not work, friends. In fact, my father taught me this. You talk really quietly when you're really angry. It's the best trick ever. Yeah. So here's my dialogue. I'm really sorry that you chose. See, there it is, choice and control. Choice and control works both ways. Not always you chose not to follow the family rule or the rule you decide, whatever, you know what I mean? You decided was okay. And because of that, you lost your screen time, your iPad time, the car keys, the ice cream, whatever it is. You chose that. But here's what I always like parents to say at the end. But I am really sure that tomorrow you're going to make a much better choice. I like that. There's no reason why you can't do that. There's no reason that you cannot end it with, I am really sure that tomorrow you'll make a better choice. End scene. And if your kid is coming at you, I asked and answered, asked and answered, asked and answered. It's not nudgy, it's not mean, it's just neutral. And because what your kid is looking for is just your engagement. And eventually they will figure out, all right, I'm not getting it here. So I have to go somewhere else to get what I need. Did I answer your question? It was a really big question.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you said you don't like you must do X, Y, and Z before you get your screens. How come?
I'm sorry, I love that. No, I don't, because then you get the whole, I'm done, right? So what I like is, we used to do this all the time, and we talk a lot about this in our parenting groups, is establishing what we call a blackout hour, blackout 2 hours. It's as you decide in your home when there will be no screens, there will be no television or videos, because then what happens is if your child comes in, let's say from school, and says, well, I don't have any homework today. So don't I get all my screens? And you're like, that's great. You don't have homework. Remember, it's okay. But no, because one thing doesn't rely on the other. We have a blackout hour. You can do anything else you want. You want to lie on your bed and stare at the ceiling? Go for it. Seriously, I don't give a you don't want what you do. Because again, choice and control. Choice and control. They can do whatever it is they want, except for the things that you decided. So I don't like that if then, because then what happens when your child goes, oh, you don't see me doing that, sorry. I'm done. And now you're in this vortex of dialoguing. And the other thing, and I'm going to go back to my 36,000 level view, is I am always of the mind, what does my child who has executive dysfunction or ADHD need? And what they need is consistency. They need, if my two children, okay, hold on to your hats. I have a 30-year-old and a 26-year-old. You guys are probably closer in age to my 30-year-old than I am. But if they were sitting here, they would say that now again, I'm married to a great guy, but I do this for a living. So he tended to let me lead the way. They would say, our mother never moved her goalpost. Even if we didn't like it, we always knew, right? They always knew. There was never this, one night that. Believe it or not, for the ADHD mind, that becomes unsafe almost. They feel they need consistency. They need structure. That being caught off guard is really detrimental to them. So very, very, very consistent and very clear in what the expectations were.
And I think that's true for all kids.
Yeah.
But even more so, I feel, for those
For sure.
that have that. So you have to remember, they suffer from not being. Do you guys know what future awareness is?
Yep.
Yep.
I do.
You guys know. But a lot of parents don't, and they don't understand like why their child does something and then doesn't learn from it, or why if it's Monday and my child did something right, why if I'm offering something on Saturday, it doesn't matter, because they can't see the future. So if you can instill, remember that working memory, if we can instill in them something that's happening consistently, they're more apt to remember it.
Another reason why if then doesn't work either. It's that nonverbal working memory that taps into that if then piece, but through choices that they will start thinking about their own behavior a little bit more as well. But the consistency is so important.
So important.
So if you were to leave, this has been great, but if you were to leave the parents listening with one final thought, what would it be?
Sorry.
It's impossible.
It's like, can I give you two?
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay. I'm going to give you two. My one thought is that when you have a child who is in the middle of a big emotion, right? A big emotion. Our tendency is we want to parent them in that moment, right? We want to either tell them they did something wrong and have us ask and have us tell them why, have them tell us why. Yeah, okay, good luck with that. Or, right? Or we're championing, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. Neither are correct. All I want from you all, if your child is having a big emotion, I want you to stay as that neutral as possible. I want you to think of sayings like, I'm listening. Go ahead. Keep going. Would you like me to stay here? Ask permission. Because even when we think we're saying something right, like you're going to be fine, or it wasn't so bad, we are still putting our emotion on top of theirs and negating it. So I want us to stay as neutral as possible when your child. So I always say you can parent your child, just not in that moment. So let them come down to neutral and then have your parenting moment, which is really tough to do. I know that. And my second thing is, and this is something I like because parents can do it right away. We're in a hurry and we tend to say a lot. I need you to. I want you to. You have to. I'd love you just to try to change that to, if you can. Not everything is a choice. So sometimes if we have to go. But if you can, I'd like you to change it to, what do you think? How do you feel about? Would you be willing? Would you consider? And then email me and let me know the change. Let me know if something changed in your house. Because when that changes, magic does happen. And I'm not a Pollyanna. I think everybody can kind of get that from listening to me. But I have worked with thousands of parents in 21 years. And just changing our communication changes everything.
So true. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. This
This was
was,
awesome.
yeah, this lots of great tips for people who are listening. I will have all of your information in the show notes, but for people who are listening, where's the very best way to find you?
Our website, we have many of them, but so the name of our company is Order Out of Chaos. Our website is Order OO Chaos. And from there, you can find everything, our offerings, our library. If you like your information through social, whatever it is, just go there and you'll find everything you need.
Amazing. Thanks so much for being
Thanks
on the
for being on
show.
the show.
Thanks for having me. This is fun.